Have you signed up for Ironman Arizona, or maybe you're thinking about signing up for it next year? Well, this video is for you because I have got the 2019 Athlete Guide hot off the press. So sit back and relax because by the end of this video, you are going to know everything that you need to know for a successful Ironman Arizona. Hey, it's Coach Eric, and this green wig has been cheering you on for the last several years on the Ironman Arizona race course well past sunset. So I hope to see you out there and high five you this year or next year or whenever you make it out. I put out a free weekly video, so if you want to become a better triathlete, you definitely want to hit the subscribe button. Now let's talk Ironman Arizona. Okay, so for planning the trip, there's several hotels and places that you can stay nearby, even within walking distance, but the AC Hotel by Marriott is right on the run course, and it's the closest hotel to walk to transition as well as the swim start. It's a Sunday race, and you can only check in on Thursday and Friday, so be wary of that. Saturday is the only day that you can practice the swim. I repeat, the only day, and there's a very small window from 10 to 11:30 in the morning is the only time you can get in the water. Last point is 11:15 to get in the water, so there's that small window, okay? Right after the swim is the bike check-in, and double check your race number because depending on your race number is actually different times when you're allowed to check your bike in. Race morning, the one parking garage that's free is right on the corner of the bike course, south of transition on Ash Avenue. So shoot for that, get there early. Transition opens at 5, closes at 6:30. There are other places to park along the street or other parking garages, so don't worry. But you might have to pay for those, and they're not as close to transition. It will be dark, so bring a headlamp and give yourself probably a 10-minute duration of time to walk from the garage to transition. It's not far distance-wise, but you kind of have to meander through different walkways. It's not just a straight line to get there. It's probably going to be in the 50s, so bring your winter hat, some light gloves, dress in layers so you're not shivering and wasting that energy that you're going to need out there on the course. Stay warm before that race starts. Age group start at 6:45, essentially at dawn. Sunrise isn't until like 7:07, so there will be some light. And the swim course, definitely going to be a wetsuit swim. It's probably going to be mid-60s, maybe high 60s, somewhere in the 60s. It changes fairly quickly, but definitely it's typically pretty cold. And with that air temperature being in the high 50s, probably it's going to be cold when you get out. For that swim course, there is zero visibility. You cannot even see your hand in front of your face, so be prepared for that. I'd also probably wear some tinted goggles or some light ones. You don't actually have to swim into the sun very much this year. The course actually, once you start, you're going to go into a ramp, down a ramp, walk in. You're going to swim west, make a quick couple of right turns, and then going back east. And so if you're out there early enough, you probably won't have the sun in your face. If you're further back, the sun will start to rise. But either way, it's only for about 1/3 of the race. And then you make a left turn buoy, and then you swim really about 2/3 of the race west away from the sun. So that'll be fantastic. You won't be squinting the whole time. Tempe-Town Lake is also not very wide, so even though the majority of the buoys are going to be on your left, don't worry if you breeze to the right. You'll probably be able to look at the wall and be able to sight that way, or maybe occasional sight to the left if you can. You'll make a final left-hand turn to head south and then hit the boat ramp and come out of the water. Go to the wetsuit strippers if you want to. Otherwise, you're headed down a concrete pedestrian path into transition. Family and friends can either go up to Mill Avenue, sort of see you from above, or because the lake's not very wide on that south side, at least for the first part of the swim, they can actually walk along the water if they can pick you out amongst all the other black wetsuits and similar swim caps. Except for the fact the water can be a little bit cold. It's a pretty nice swim. There are rarely any waves, so you should have a good experience. Onto the bike. When you get out, you're going to be wet. The air temperature is going to be hovering around 60-ish. So when you jump on that bike, you have a couple of options. Number one, you can just go and bear the little bit of cold. Maybe you don't mind it. For me, getting on that bike course and have that wind coming at you, especially since it's flat, you're going fairly quick, and I get pretty cold. But I'm a wimp, I'll admit it, when it comes to that. Other options, some arm warmers for the first part of the course. If you do that, I would recommend beforehand rolling them down, and so that in transition, you can sort of just slip it on over your wrist. And then once you get going on the bike, you could actually pull them up if you're comfortable doing that. Otherwise, you can just pull them up if you don't care about the time savings. Option number 2, because you're going to be so, to help keep your core warm when you're wet, you could just put on a vest, like a windbreaker vest to keep that heat in there. And then when you get warm later, you could take it off. Option 3 would be that you just change into a dry tri-top in transition. Of course, that will take more time. So those are your 4 options, but it definitely will be a little cold those first few miles on the bike since it's flat. And then once you get out about 10 miles, it's very wide open. It could be very windy. Now it will warm up during the day. So 75 to 85 probably for the high. So if you can bear a little bit of cold for the first half hour, then you won't need any of those things. And in fact, it'll get really warm. So just be aware of that. The course is 3 laps, so it's going to get pretty crowded out there. Get used to hearing "on your left" as people come passing you, and you better get used to saying "on your left" to people as you pass them. And so at times there could be, 3, potentially even 4 riders, hopefully not, kind of all passing each other at once. So just as soon as you can, move over and get out of the draft zone, but there will be sort of that passing back and forth. Try not to get frustrated, just get used to that and race your race. First and last 10 miles of each lap are pretty pancake flat, but then you get out onto the Beeline Highway where it's very wide open. It can be very windy, and it is a gradual grade uphill. There are a few little rollers, but it's really a course where even despite some of the hills, it's a low grade, and so you can really stay in your aero bars really the whole time almost. And so if you're not used to that, at some point you will become uncomfortable if you're used to sort of standing up, stretching, climbing hills, things like that. So if you haven't practiced, just be aware of that. And maybe on a little bit of the climbs, you should sit up to kind of just adjust and use a little bit different muscles. So it can get windy, but don't worry. If there's wind at your back on the uphill, that's great, but then you're going to have wind on the downhill and vice versa. So that's the one disadvantage of an out and back course is you're going to get wind both directions. If you really want to take advantage of those downhills and be in the aero position, really make sure you get in your nutrition on those uphills or even maybe the flatter sections before you have that long downhill each lap. About 2,500 feet total in climbing, so not too bad. And really, those last 15 or so miles are either downhill or flat, so you should have a nice finish coming in transition for the run. Run course, 2 loops, out and back. So basically, if your family sits at the quarter-mile mark of the run, they're going to see you basically 5 times without having to move anywhere. So that's pretty cool. The run course is pretty flat with a few rollers, little steep ones here and there, especially around mile 9 and 22 on the north side of the river or lake is where there's a couple steeper hills. So just be prepared for that. The course is going to be really all on concrete pedestrian path. And then some of the course will actually be on compact dirt trail to give your legs a little bit respite, but it is a little bit different surface and you can't push off quite as well. But it's not sand, it's more of a hard packed dirt. Course has got about 350 feet of climbing, so just enough so to keep those different muscle groups working. And really, I like a course like this better than a pancake flat one where you're just like running on a treadmill where it's the same. So this will just give you enough, I think, to work those muscles. If you take longer than about 10 and a half hours to do this course, you're probably going to want to put something in your special needs bag, a long sleeve shirt or something you can just dry to put on or even just some gloves. It's kind of up to you, but the sun sets about 5:20 and it gets cold really fast in the desert with no humidity after it's been probably about 80 during the day. It gets cold quick, so just be aware of that. If you're not used to running at night, especially after you've been sweating all day, you're dehydrated, definitely something that I'd recommend. And that's it. You are an Ironman. Just remember, the race starts off kind of cool in the morning, especially with that water. It's going to heat up to a beautiful day, but there's no shade on the bike course or really on the run course. A few buildings here or there depending on what part of the course you're on and as the day goes on. But in the heat of the day, it's really sunny, and then it's going to get cold again. So just be aware of that, and you're going to have a great, fantastic day, and I can't wait to see you out there. I hope that video was helpful for you. Arizona is my stomping grounds for training all things triathlon, off-road, Ironman on-road. So if you're interested in any coaching, send me a message, put a comment now, and we'll set you up with a free 30-minute consultation and see if it's right for you. All right, until next week, I'll see you on the trails.